Now, I want to get to the next speaker. I appreciate you all's patience. We'll get to Marie. You get to unmute yourself. You got it.
Hi. Yes. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My first time listening to your piece, so I was a little confused on what it meant, and I started just looking at listen to what you were saying. So, I don't know you. I haven't walked in your shoes. I haven't been in your down your path. So I don't know your experience, but I was just listening, and I was just kind of confused on what you were saying because I just feel like America is was built off of different free labor of slavery, but America came and colonized the Native Americans that was already here. It was Native Americans that was already here, and the British came over here and they colonized the people that was already here, and they had industrial servants or they had slave trade, and then they had Ellis Island. So America always had immigrants who came here. Before it was America, they had the 13 colonies, and they gained the independence 1776. But I just feel like it was always immigrants here. And then in the 1900s, before the 1930s, America sold this dream to people to come here. They had people from other countries telling them to come here, and you have the American dream. Like in Chicago, they had the slaughterhouses, like the meat slaughterhouses. Other people from other countries came here because America sold this dream to people around the world to come here. And then America also took over other people countries like Puerto Rico. They came and they took over their territories. And also America have territories with other countries. Like they have allies with other countries. So I don't know. I just felt like this country is built off immigrants, not just Black people in general, but other people from other parts of the world came here, and I feel like they should still get the same services we get. Yes, we have to go through, we as Black people have it probably worse because we went through Jim Crow, we go through police brutality, we go through racism. I just feel like, I don't know, I just feel like people in general being Black have it hard if you come to America. So I don't know. I'm just trying to understand what you're saying.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure how long you might have been listening in this space. We've been on for a little minute. So I'm going to say we have to understand the history with this, right? We have to understand
Mhm.
that, yeah, other people have come over here. We, as what foundation, the descendants of slaves, the
Mhm.
foundation, we are foundational Black Americans. We are the descendants of the slaves that built this country. Now, when you say immigrants come over here, we have to put that in its context. Um, there were people who, like you said, Native Americans who were enslaved, and then you had people who came here through the transatlantic slave trade, and they were all mished in together. They were all put in together. The white slave master said, "Y'all all a bunch of Negroes. Now get on that field and pick that cotton." And there's history that verifies this. Even you have white historians who say this is a fact as well too. So us, the people who were the foundation, the people who were the descendants of slaves, we built the cotton and we set the precedent for the government to be built, which was established in the 1700s. After that, we still continue to further build the economy, build the government, build the railroads and the towns, and really the structure of America. The immigrants really didn't start coming over here like the Irish, the Chinese, and all of these other people. They didn't even really start integrating into America in the small pockets that they did until about 100 years after that. That's 100 years after that. And then we also have to put into context is that nobody forced them to come over here. They voluntarily chose to come over here because there was something better over here than what was at their homeland. So we got to put into the context of, well, you made the decision to leave your nation to be a part of another nation. We never made that decision to leave our nation to become members of another nation. So we can't put the us in the same light as an immigrant, because they're looking for a better opportunity, a better way of life. That's not what happened with us. So it's inaccurate to put us in that same position. I'm not going to say that America doesn't disenfranchise different countries, because they do. They do disenfranchise different countries. They do form coups. They do form assassination. They do form all of this stuff. And America is to blame for a lot of other things. But we have to still understand that as the foundation, as the people who built America, there would be no America had we not built it, had we not fought for it, had we not invented all these inventions for it, ingenuity and all of these things. We have been the ones most neglected, as they allowed immigrants who voluntarily come over to this land. They get preferential treatment. They get to leapfrog over us, and they get to skip the line when it comes to resources, when it comes to opportunities, when it comes to just being looked out for. Nor did they face the same amount of discrimination. So they not only face less discrimination than we do, they also get more preferential treatment by the society that we do. So this is why I'm saying that we're going to have to update how we view the situation. We can't view ourselves in the same light as immigrants, because this is becoming problematic, because this is preventing justice from being done. And I'm not saying that they don't deserve justice, but justice needs to be compensatory. Justice needs to happen primarily to the people who've been the most harmed. We've been the most harmed. We are descendants of slaves. We've been the most harmed. Our people has. So our people needs to be the ones who are in front of the line. But instead, we act as if there are people who will try to label us and say, well, everybody's been equally as harmed. So let me get the Japanese Americans, let me get them their reparations first. Let me get the Irish Americans, let me allow them to have their reparations first. Let me have these Hispanics who just came in 3 weeks ago, let me get them a house first. So we're allowing, when we try to make it seem like victimhood is universal, we're allowing all of these other groups to come in, and then they get to leapfrog us. And that pretty much allows the racial status quo to continue to exist, where you have foundational Black Americans at the bottom of the pecking order, and you have all of these other ethnic groups, buffer classes above us, and then you have the white group at the top. And when they dispense justice in this order with that method, it keeps the racial pecking order the same. It keeps the status quo the same. So I'm saying that that's a problem that we have to acknowledge and we have to update ourselves on, because it's detrimental to continue to act as victimhood is completely universal. So that means justice needs to be blindly dispensed. It does not need to be blindly dispensed. It's harmful to be blindly dispensed. I used the analogy earlier about a person whose house burned down versus a person who got some flat tires. Of course, the person who has flat tires, they need help, right? But the person whose house burned down, they need more help. So you're going to attend to the person whose house burned down first before you get to the person whose tire is flat. And that's not to say the tire being flat is not an issue, but this is to say that the person with the greatest issue needs the most attention. And this is how we should view justice. And because we are descendants of slaves and we have the greatest issue, we need the most justice. So you understanding where I'm coming from, right?
Can I speak now?
Yeah,
Am I
yeah.
allowed to
Okay,
speak back?
okay.
So, so basically, I really want to say that the Native Americans was here first, and they don't have that much justice. They actually became a U.S. citizen during the civil rights movement. Like, they was the last people to actually become citizens in this country. And industrial servants was here in the 1600s, but because the process was so slow, they decided to go through Africa and get the slave trade. And the Africans, it was like a triangular slave trade. It was from the Europeans, Africa, the Caribbean. Some of them went to the Caribbean, like Haiti and stuff, and then some came to America. But what I'm saying is, like, It wasn't
Can
just
we
black
define? Can we
people.
define something real quick? Because I think we got to be clear on the
Okay.
definitions. What
Okay.
what group of people were in the 1600s that were industrial? That were servants?
European countries. European
So
countries.
are you saying?
They
Oh,
they
no, no, let's be clear. So are you saying that Europe are you saying they were indentured servants or they were slaves?
yes,
Because that's not
they was indentured servants, but they was treated like
okay.
slaves.
Hold
If
on,
you go through,
because we got to
if
be
you look
clear
at
about the
the history,
definitions here. We can't
but, but
we can't mix the two
okay,
things
I'm
up because
sorry,
those two things
but
are not the same thing.
but some of them were treated like slaves because they did not. If you there's pictures of people who came here who were treated just like slaves. They didn't know when they came here they was going to get treated like slaves because their parents thought that if they come to America they have a better life because America was being built. But some of them people who was treated like slaves. There's pictures in history. The industrial servants in the 1600s who came from the European countries was treated like slaves as well. It took too long, so they went to Africa and they went through the slave trade to speed up the process.
Okay, that's not fully accurate. We're gonna have to be
If you
because when you say they're treated like slaves,
there are
we can
pictures,
probably
there
meet
are
it,
pictures of them
and
being
I know what you're
there are
talking about.
pictures.
And we
Okay.
can probably meet in the middle that they have been mistreated. But for you to say that they were treated like slaves, like how
I'm
my
not
ancestors were treated, that is very inaccurate. Number one, based off of the principle of the fact that nobody kidnapped them and forced them to come to this land. If they
yeah,
came to
okay,
this
that part
land,
is true. That part is true.
yeah,
That part is
so
true.
based
That
off
part is
of
true. Your
just
part is
that
true.
principle alone, you can't put them in the same light. And this is where we're having the problems is because, and what I was talking about for the longest time when it comes to labels, when we put everything in the same light, it blurs the line of what needs to be done. It blurs the line of where our priorities need to be. Now, when we talk about the Native Americans, there were Native Americans that were actually mixed in and put in and just reclassified and labeled. The dark skinned Native Americans were just reclassified and labeled as Negroes, and the enslaved Africans that came on the slave ships, they were all put in the same boat and owned by the same slave master. So you have a lot of which you're saying indigenous, it was their land. Historians and black and white historians agree that there were Negro Native Americans here prior to the slave trade. They were here prior
Okay,
to the slave
not
trade.
even Negro. It was just
And what I'm saying is this: when you say they haven't gotten their justice, we have to acknowledge the fact that no, maybe they have not gotten fully treated the way they can. Maybe we can even agree on the fact that they have not gotten fully treated justly, how they should have been treated. But we do also we have to acknowledge the fact that they did get a form of reparations. They do have
they
certain,
got
ma'am,
nothing. They got forced on an island.
ma'am, hold on. They did. There are certain set asides and there are certain subsidies and are certain benefits that specifically are for their group of people that the government has specifically given to their group of people. There have been treaties that they have agreed to and they have signed that give them specific subsidies and specific benefits for their group of people. They have specific um, resources for the harm that's been done to them. And if we want to talk about the harm that's been done to them, the harm that's been done to them is not as bad as the harm that was done to us. It's not.
Can I say something?
Hold on. Let me just finish the statement.
Okay.
It's not. Okay. Do you know that George Washington, he would take the teeth from his slaves, not deceased slaves, alive slaves, because his teeth was rotting out of his mouth. And he would have somebody take a pair of pliers and pull the teeth out of his slave's mouth to create dentures for himself. Just that alone. That didn't happen to the native, what you were calling the Native Americans or the five civilized tribes. The five civilized
Um,
tribes acclimated to the Western powers. That's why they're even called the five civilized tribes. That didn't happen to them. It wasn't where they were in. not to say they weren't mistreated, because I want to be accurate, but you can't say that their mistreatment and our mistreatment is completely the same. It's even across the board, because that's historically dishonest. That's not the case.
And
And
I
then even afterwards, then it's specific Jim Crow laws that we had to face, and specific discrimination like redlining and the Highway Act
yes,
and
I
all the,
understand about redlining.
ma'am,
I understand about
if they
redlining.
have specific treaties and specific lands
But
that's
can I say
allocated to
something?
them, and we don't have that, and they have specific resources, and they don't have to pay taxes, and they have specific set asides. Even if you want to make the argument that their set asides and their resources or their reparations package isn't enough, that's a totally different conversation. But for you to
Okay, can I
say that for some group of people who did get something, because you can't say they didn't get anything, they did get something for their harm, is comparable to people who did not get absolutely anything for harm that was actually worse than their harm. You understand, right? You get
yes, can I speak?
okay, yeah.
So yeah, so basically the Indians that was well the Native Americans that was here, they didn't maybe they not I don't know if they had the same severity of Africans that was here, but they did get they here they got their culture stripped from them. They had to unlearn their language, they had to unlearn their religion, they had to cut their hair, they had to wear uniform. They was forced into this Indian boarding schools, and they only got something when Obama came in election in 2008, and they had this thing where you said like they was able to have their own type of treaty. That was not until Obama came into office, and because it was like a casino thing, they was basically about money. So it's really like they really didn't get much. They got something, but it wasn't really much. Most people that are the Native Americans, most of them live in poverty, poor communities, have a long problem of alcohol, drug problems, substance abuse problems because of the severity that they went through. Yes, they fought for some type of rights, and that if you are a Native American, you are not allowed to be put in regular foster care. You have to go through their tribe first. That's what they got with inside that treaty. But I'm saying is that people was all went through problems in the country
And
as well.
I'm not dismissing the problems, but what me and you are disagreeing on is, first of all, they got things well before Obama. They got things before Obama was even born. If you know the history of the Indian Claim Commission in the 1940s, they've been getting things from then, since then. Now, if you want to make the argument that that's not been enough, that's a totally different conversation. But let's not fast forward it and make it seem like they didn't get anything till Obama got in office. But even if you do want to make the argument that they didn't get anything at all, no set asides, no benefits until Obama got in office, what were the benefits that we got when Obama got in office?
We got nothing. We got
And
nothing.
see,
We got
that's what I'm
nothing.
saying.
We got nothing. I'm being honest. We got
So
nothing.
if we can agree on that, I don't understand how we're disagreeing on the fact that these group of people did get something. Because every time I say they did get something, you acknowledge that as a fact, but you try to belittle the reparations that they got as if they didn't get anything in comparison to the people who actually didn't get anything.
No, you're all right. I agree with you on that point. You're right. We did not get nothing. We did not get no 40 acres. We did not get no our move. We didn't get nothing. So that part I do understand. I guess I understand from that aspect and that severity. But I just feel like the people you really got to be attacking is the people like the elites, like the people that's in office, like the Congress, like the government, the people that got the federal power, the people that really have the control of the country.
Do you think
Not people who come here.
I don't know how long you probably have not maybe
No,
known
I'm
before.
new.
Yeah,
I'm new
you
to this
knew, and
space.
I understand that.
Yeah,
I
so I feel
understand
like
that.
people who come here don't really got the power and control. Like the government is the people, the federal government is people that really got the power, like to really give people the reparations and the money.
Uh-huh.
Not people who come here. They don't got no power.
Yeah, and here's the thing. We talk about the government all the time. Most of the
Okay, so I'm new to
conversations
the
we
space.
talk about is between the Democrats and the Republicans, and now we're owed reparations. And I did a rally. I was a speaker at the rally for reparations in Washington, D.C. earlier this year. So we're definitely holding the people accountable who need to be held accountable. But the thing is that the immigrants do have what we are establishing is the fact that we are not
More
all
rights.
the same. We're not trying to dismiss the harm that they've gone through, but we have to establish that they have not been the same. And what happens is when it comes to our victimhood and grievance, people want to lump us all in the same boat. But then when it comes to certain set asides and certain benefits, they look out for them. You don't have Native Americans, who you would consider Native Americans, you don't have them advocating for us to get reparations. So,
Okay,
you
all
know what
right.
I'm saying?
Now I
So
understand
this
what
is
you're
the
saying. I
thing,
understand what you're saying.
you know, we have to have our priorities straight as far as where justice needs to be dispensed and how it needs to be dispensed. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. So what is like the plan that you're trying to like the agenda you're trying to push like to get reparations? Do you think that we as a people will get reparations in your lifetime, or you think that
Yeah, I believe so. I believe the momentum for reparations is something that's serious, something that's steady, something that's growing, something that they clearly cannot ignore, and something that politically is harming people when they deny us our reparations. I think that we are at this point in time when it comes to the whole reparations movement. I think that we're not asking for it. We're making the demands, and then we're standing 10 toes on those demands, because our people used to make demands and then they say no, and then we say, well, let's just accept what we can get. We used to have that mentality of something is better than nothing, but now we have the mentality of no, what I demand is what I'm going to get, what I'm going to leave the table with. That's what I said with the rally for reparations. I said we're going to get everything that we demand because we've updated the way we think about the situation. We don't think about the situation of something is better than nothing. We think about the situation of you owe us this money and we're not going to take any substitute for it. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
with that principle, that growing principle and sentiment in the community, that lets me know that we will get reparations.
So when is your next rally?
Well, we're trying to set stuff up next year. We have one in 2022, and then we have one this year. So we have one this year, we have one in 2022. But Tariq Nasheed is the one who hosts the rally. So he was talking about having like another one, like annual, like around the Juneteenth holiday. So probably next year we'll have something of the
Okay,
sort.
one more thing. You're not biased towards other people that's not America like FBA, or you're not biased towards them, are you?
No, I'm not biased towards them.
Okay. Okay. 'Cause I just feel like, okay, no, I'm just want to make sure because I like people like I'm like a loving person, so I don't like. I mean, I like people in general. I just don't like patriarchy. I don't like the elite system. I don't like people that like to be in power and like to control the world. But I feel like yes, we do deserve justice. We do deserve reparations. So I understand that part.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I
Okay,
believe that too. And I don't want any group of people to be mistreated, but I do prioritize my group of people. I'm not going to lie to you. Just like you would
of
prioritize
course.
your mama, your papa, your dad before you would
Hmm.
prioritize my mama and my dad. You know what I'm saying? So I
Right,
do
right. That makes.
prioritize that, and I do check disrespect. I'm not going to let people disrespect my lineage or my ancestors. I'm not going to let that happen.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Okay. Well, thank you. I think
Okay.
this was a pretty beneficial conversation. A lot of people want to add to the conversation. I appreciate
Okay,
you.
I'm gonna let them speak. Hmm.